What's up, everybody? This is Dominic Deal of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. I'm also Grande Hot Brew Refill from Starbucks. But I'm here with Robert Karpelis, WE_creativish, as we're going to talk a lot of stuff today. Robert, happy Monday. How was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? Oh, you're muted, Robert.
My God, I was muted because I was stepping away because your audio is all messed up, and I'm gonna screw that up here. As I said, the University of Florida Gators were successful Saturday evening against Sanford. The Miami Dolphins were successful yesterday against the Tony Khan Jacksonville Jaguars, making the second L Tony Khan took this weekend. The first happened in a few moments during All Out. And Dom, what the hell are you wearing?
So this is an Aaron Rodgers jersey. I literally got it the day last year on Monday Night Football. I wore it that evening. Lo and behold, 4 plays in, he ruptures his Achilles. So I'm gonna test fate again tonight and see what happens.
Why do you hate Aaron Rodgers this much? He's usually pretty entertaining on Pat McAfee's show, as long as he's not talking about vaccinations or living in a sweat yurt or whatever the hell he's doing. He's an interesting fellow, but let's not promote the thing that airs opposite Monday Night Raw.
That's true.
We want people to watch the wrestling so that they tune in here live every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. On Rumor and Innuendo, some folks who are doing so will say hi. The Wrestling Old Head. Good after Morning R&I, the show that moves the needle. Swerve Page left me with this quote from Major League. Willie Mays Hayes, basket catch scene. Great job. Never, error 404, do that again. I like that. Dre Owens, good afternoon, gents. Swerve out. Samoa Joe in, ? Alt Jake, best part of Monday, a full week of R&I ahead. And Ron Ward calling me out on my audio issues, saying, "Damn it, Robert." Well earned there. I have 2 mute buttons. That's the issue. There's the mute button on the computer, and then on the headset itself. There's a double. It's a double fail safe in case I'm on a very important meeting and I'm like playing, WWE Supercard on my phone or something like intelligent like that, and I don't want them to know. But man, we got way too much stuff to talk about. We're not even getting a chance to talk about SmackDown or Collision, which I watched for some inexplicable reason, and Rampage. But All Out.
Rampage too.
I watched part of Rampage because there was an overrun. I got to see the Outrunners. I don't know how I lived life before seeing those guys, but that might be the best thing Tony Khan is doing in AEW.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the things he is doing in AEW right now with All Out and what unfolded there. Lots of talk. Robert, do you want to go chronologically in this, or would you prefer?
Oh, we're going to go chronologically in this because it really builds.
Yes, it does. Started off with MJF taking on Daniel Garcia in what was a lengthy match. Want to get your thoughts on it before I expound on it.
So they gave him plenty of time. Mm-hmm. Danny Garcia wearing the bandage on his head made him look like a pirate.
Arr.
Which was, thank you. And you got your Pittsburgh Pirates hat on. Very good. Very proud of you. Very excited. For those of you listening on audio format, this is what you're missing. If you're not tuning in live to watch the video, there's props. He's like Gallagher. But look, my concern going into this was I didn't think Danny Garcia was going to feel at the same level as MJF. It was going to feel like Max was slumming a little bit. I think that they wrestled a tremendous match. I think that Max got the best Danny Garcia match you were going to get out of Danny Garcia, but coming out of it, I did not feel like Garcia is now a guy who's a made minted man. Obviously, mm-hmm. Max won with the low blow. There was a lot of back and forth. The spike pile driver after was Garcia's revenge, but that was very similar to the story you just told with Will Ospreay and the Tiger Driver. So I don't know. Maybe Max has taken a little bit of a vacation, which he just came back not that long ago. But hey, let him do him. It's never too late to go hang out in beautiful Long Island, or he can come down here and chill with me in Boca. But either way, it was a fine match that I left it thinking, yeah, Danny Garcia, he's fine. He's great at the next TNT champion, #1 contender.
Yeah, I thought the match was good. I agree with you in regards to the spike pile driver and all that stuff. It kind of is what we've seen. I said this a couple times. I am sick of all these injury kind of. Oh, wait, we got to be concerned with this person's neck. We got to do this. It's lazy, creative. It's gone to the well too many times. How many were we engaged by Rock versus Hogan because we were concerned about a neck injury with one of them, or like certain?
He hit him with a semi truck, and Rock no sold it.
That's it. Give us some schmoz stuff. I don't know. I'm just kind of sick of this whole thing. We got to be concerned about this wrestler's well-being. And granted, a lot of this is all storyline and not really real. But come on, injuries are a part of sports. We're aware of that. We don't necessarily need that hammered over the head for us.
Well, you also just did the comedic heel with an exaggerated neck brace with Roderick Strong.
Right.
And when you're going to the same well that you went to with Roderick Strong, you're not drawing deep water.
Nope. Next matchup was the World Tag Team title match. It was the Young Bucks taking on the Blackpool Combat Club in Claudio and Wheeler, Utah. Young Bucks retain. What'd you think of this match? I thought it was pretty good. Good match. Kind of intriguing, just the fact that it was Claudio and Utah going up against the Young Bucks instead of just a normal tag team that we're used to.
Well, God forbid AEW takes advantage of their tag division. But this was a match, again, on paper, no surprises. We knew the Young Bucks were going to win. Claudio had a really good showing in there. I think Yuta looked good. We knew where this was going to go later on in the broadcast would have wider ramifications. But for a pay-per-view with a 2-week build where you're trying to draw buy rates, I don't know how many people were buying it to see this particular match. This would have been fine on a Dynamite. It would have been fine on a Collision. But when you're asking people to pay, I don't know what the MSRP was for this pay-per-view, Dom. Let's say it was $50, $60, whatever it is. Does this match scream? If you were to go back and look at this 5 years from now on Wikipedia and go, yeah, that feels like a pay-per-view worthy tag match. They absolutely over-delivered. They absolutely did everything that they were asked of to do in this match. That being said, I don't know that it needed to be on the pay-per-view. In fact, I'll go one step further and say I would have rather seen the Grizzled Young Veterans in FTR, which was set up 2 weeks prior, rather than this.
Honestly, it's funny you mentioned that because I thought that's what we were getting, like, in between, and we never got it. So what's the deal with that? Yeah, it was okay. I'm with you, though. It doesn't necessarily need to be on the card. But I thought it was a fun little change of pace, too.
They made the most of it. Happy to see it. My buddy Jimmy Wheeler Yuta getting some screen time. Always like to see it.
Talk about that later on, too. There's something else, obviously, at the end of the show. But we have Will Ospreay defending his AEW International Championship against Pac. Ospreay retains. And what might have been probably my favorite match of the night, maybe? I like this a lot, Robert.
It was a really good match. It was a really strong match. Again, Pac was not positioned strong as a contender. We didn't think that he was going to win, and he didn't win. We knew this was going to be used to set up Ricochet versus Ospreay, and they sure as hell didn't waste time on that.
They didn't.
They set up Ricochet versus Ospreay. But yeah, look, Pac and Ospreay are going to have a great match in their sleep. This was no different. It was a good back and forth match. It was another one where they kind of set it up as a bit of a blood feud going into it, but they really hadn't committed at that point whether or not Pac was a babyface or a heel, since the night before he was teaming up with the world champion Bryan Danielson in an 8-man tag against the dastardly Elite. But yeah, you put this on here. WWE, we used to do this a lot. We would take guys that we knew were really good, and it's like, well, we can just cheat and do Regal Finley.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a lot of exposition and story. Just let those guys go out there and do it. Part of the challenge that they have with this international title is, what is it? You have an international title, you have a TNT title, you have a continental title. All three of them are 3 variations of the same belt.
Right.
The TNT title used to be that was the workman's title. That was when Cody held it, when Brody held it, when Darby held it. Like when you had that meant you were the best worker in the company. It was kind of their intercontinental title. Now, the international title is kind of being positioned as that. But at the same time, Kazuchika Okada has the Continental title. And he's kind of, a lot of people's eyes, the best wrestler in the world. So you have 3 belts that are serving the same purpose, and there's no delineation. So I'm hoping that eventually they start to look at it and say, maybe we make one mean something else, something different, because ultimately, with Ospreay holding the international title, it could overshadow your world title.
Right. I can't wait for the pay-per-view AEW consolidation where they merge all these titles together and then we get a definitive answer on what they actually mean and stand for. Can't wait. Next pay-per-view. Yeah, I like the match a lot. Some false finishes, but that was kind of expected with all that stuff. A lot of them, I think. But I really did enjoy the match. That being said, Chicago Street Fight. Willow Nightingale taking on Chris Statlander. Some interesting spots they did in this match. Including a light tube, one including thumbtacks. Did you like this match, Robert?
I'm of two minds on this match.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the women understood the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
They went out there. There's got to be a street fight. It's going to be violent. Me personally, I'm not a light tube guy. I'm not a guy that's going out of his way to watch a CZW match or to watch a GCW match. I'm a guy who yelled at Swerve years ago when he did a spot where he went through a plate glass window that was propped up in the ring, and I was like, God, dude, you're way too good to be doing that kind of stuff. I understand that you wanted to build up the drama and the intensity of this feud. I think their sit down on Collision told that story really well. Light tubes are never going to be my thing. This is a tough one to parse. There's a section of the audience that's going to be very uncomfortable with seeing women bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean in the way that they bleed once a month and that upsets Republicans. I'm talking about the fact that, when you see this sort of violence that's occurring on a show to begin with, it's going to turn off a sector of that crowd. When it's women, it becomes even more magnified. So I think that becomes something that as AEW needs to grow and expand, when your ratings, the Dynamite this week were 600 and something thousand people, you need to get younger audience members. You need kids that are hooked in. I don't know that kids are going to be thrilled to see that type of match. The thumbtack spot, there was a way that I referred to it on Working Stiff that I cannot hear, and would be a very ill taste for me to go to a Blue Chew ad. We don't have one queued up for today, so we're good. It was a unique spot. I'll give them that, but it was a niche spot that I don't know that you need if you're trying to be the number 2 global brand. This week, hopefully announcing a big deal with Warner Discovery and saying we're just as accessible for advertisers as what WWE does. Give us your money, Sonic and Cricket and all these other brands. And then you do this match. I think the women told a really good story. I think you could have had a little bit of editing, remove the light tubes. That's just me. The thumbtack spot, I'll leave that for however you want to take it. But I think the right person went over. And I think these women really put their heart and soul into making this match work.
Absolutely, I do. I agree with you. I think I like Willow. I like Chris a lot. And I think Willow is just this Bailey baby face that we were originally going to get probably like about 10 years ago with a little more edge to her. And I think that really speaks to what she's able to do moving forward. Excited what they're going to do with her next. But again, you're kind of putting I think you're doing the light tubes, doing these thumbtacks, doing something else. You're really not defining your women's division doing this kind of stuff. It's kind of taking it off base.
There's a bigger issue I had while watching this match.
Mm-hmm.
The main event of this show was a lights out, no rules. My God, these two men are going to kill each other match.
Yeah.
I don't know that you needed another hardcore match on this show.
It's a great point.
You had blood in the Danny Garcia match because he had the wound open. If I was producing this thing, I want the maximum impact possible for that Swerve and Hangman match. It's, guys, we don't need the blood. We don't need another hardcore match on this show. Save all those spots for the main event because you can become desensitized to it. And I likened it to Foley's Hell in a Cell match, where when he got thrown off the top of that cage, not once but twice, people in the industry said, where do we go from here? And we saw it sometimes where they try to replicate those Hell in a Cell spots. The Rikishi one comes to mind, and they were lesser than. I see a guy fall off a thing. We saw Shane fall off a Hell in a Cell. Only Vince likes seeing that. So it's kind of diminished returns. I would have pulled back. You could have had this match, by the way, on Dynamite, and I put more eyeballs on it, and I don't think you would have lost anything from this pay-per-view.
I completely agree, and it would have made probably that match feel like a bigger deal than just like, oh, hey, little Chicago street fight going on. Yeah, let's have some fun. And would have felt like a bigger deal if it was on Dynamite and you kind of positioned it in a different way. But yeah, good. I love both women. I think that they do a great job. I think they can help build that division up. Don't necessarily think that this match was doing it for them.
I do want to point out, Jeroy J here says, I like there being some parity for the women, and I think it was otherwise warranted for this feud. I do agree that the feud escalated to a point where you warranted a street fight. I think it's really just a matter of what type of Brandy you want. Not Brandy Rhodes, mind you, but have fun.
All right. Next up, we have that Continental title match, the Fatal 4-Way between Okada, Orange Cassidy, oh my God, Takeshita, and oh my gosh, Mark Briscoe. So,
look, you got the living Briscoe, and you pronounced Takeshita right. This is a home run day for you, Dom.
Excited! What a way to start a Monday. Robert, what'd you think of this match?
It was a very good 4-way match. The competitors here, again, they understood the assignment. It was a 15-minute wrestling match. Okada got a chance to shine. You got to tease him and Takeshita, which now fans want to see down the road. Orange Cassidy is a guy you can beat a lot, and he can come back. I know he was devastated that Chris Jericho stole his backpack on Collision. I really hate that I watched Collision, and now this is in my brain.
Now you know it.
Like, Mark Briscoe's great. This was the opportunity for them to take the Continental title off of Okada. If they were more concerned with building him up than they were the gold, I think they kept it on him so that you see that all the members of Elite have titles and that they are a force to be reckoned with going forward. Totally fine match.
Yeah, I thought this was a good opportunity to take that gold off of Okada, but maybe they're trying to do something with the title and make it mean more. But again, got a lot of titles, so what are you going to do? Yeah, I'm with you on Orange Cassidy. He's pretty Teflon. Would like to see a feud between him and Okada down the line, maybe, but you want to serious up Okada a little bit more too. So it's like a give and take there.
Well, we'll get Okada and Takeshita. The hope is that they have the discipline to save that and Ospreay Ricochet for pay-per-view and not Grand Slam. But given the way ticket sales are going for that show, they may, pull the trigger.
They may pull the trigger. Next up, the match we had was Mercedes Moné versus Akira Shida for the TBS Championship. They did a little build for this on Dynamite and everything like that. Shida, former champion. Mercedes Moné wins. What did you think of this match there, Robert?
I'll be honest. This is one of those matches where I was glad that I was watching the Gator game instead. While people were worrying who's going to win, I was thinking, is DJ Lagway going to throw for more than 300 yards? Are my receivers going to finally start grabbing touchdowns? And guys, if you check out DraftKings Pick 6, the newest way to compete against others and play fantasy football to win cash with DraftKings, it's easy. You pick a player and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. This is so simple, even Dom can do it. Pick your touchdowns, catches, and more. If you get your picks right, you win cash. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code RUMOR. That's code RUMOR for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits guaranteed. Plus, you get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Offer expires September 19th, only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 years or over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6, not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. One per new customer. Reward issued as $50 in non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 6 months. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at NFL.com/terms. Dumb. Shida, they built her up. They fed her to Mercedes Moné. Now she gets to go vanish into that that land from Deadpool and Wolverine where characters
The Void.
go. The Void, which was in the Low Key as well. She's there with Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa and Anna Jay
Ron
and
Morrison,
Rico.
Fire Valkyrie,
Yes,
you name it.
there you
Yeah.
go.
I would like to see a heel turn from her. Maybe just give her a different kind of thing. And I think she does somebody else that really could add value to the women's division even more so. Same with the Thunder Rosa and even
It was
so.
Look, it was a better match than the Britt Baker match, and I think that's all Mercedes needed to concern herself with was can I top that?
Right, exactly. All right. Next up, we had Bryan Danielson taking on Jack Perry for the AEW World Title. Enjoyed this match. I thought the way Jack Perry stole the running knee was great. Sold.
Like you said, stoled. I was like,
sold.
what?
But Bryan Danielson retains, and we get quite the angle after the fact. Robert, what did you think of the match? And what did you think of the angle afterwards?
Jim Ross, ad-free show, brethren. Early on, forgot that he was doing commentary for All Out and not his podcast with Conrad. And the way that he buried the Jack Perry entrance with the riot gear people. See that, Tony? They got riot gear on. See them standing ringside at Excalibur? Why they got that riot gear? Just absolutely just burying it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
How about him biting? He was like, I never heard anybody win a match from biting somebody or nothing like that.
Marv Albert's the only announcer that would know about that. But here's the thing. Danielson did what Jericho thinks he does. Give me a young guy. I'm going to make him look like $1 million. Danielson made Jack Perry look like $1 million. I don't think Jack Perry was built up to be a credible number one contender for this. I didn't think that anybody believed that Jack Perry was going to win. The biggest miss in this match was the hyped interference from the Elite,
mm-hmm.
and they were really ineffective for a stable that they debuted or re-debuted by attacking Tony Khan, by saying, this is our company, we're taking over, we damn the suspensions, damn the CM Punk issues, this is our place and we're running it. And then they were that weak and ineffective. Maybe we're moving on from those guys as being a dominant faction, but I don't know where you would find a dominant faction. I'm going to look in this plastic bag,
yes,
and see.
Put your head too deep in there, Robert. Be careful.
Yeah. Look, that's right. Props.
You're Gallagher.
The biggest star from the pay-per-view. I did not watch this show live. I mute the Working Stiff group chat when there's a pay-per-view that I have, because I want to see it unspoiled. I woke up Sunday morning to 164 missed text messages. 164. And my first thought was, oh no, Hangman and Swerve killed each other. And then I was wrong, because there was attempted murder before that match even happened. I understand the beats of what happened here. Kill Switch comes out. Him and Jack Perry stare down with each other. Oh man, these guys have a history. I like this. Oh, here comes Christian. He's got the Christian Cage. He's got the magical not money in the bank contract. I like this. Here comes the Blackpool Combat Club to square up. Oh, Moxley remembered he's part of this group.
Finally.
Like this. They're all in the ring celebrating. And I'm thinking, well, we've teased Claudio not being thrilled with Danielson. We've teased that Moxley, since coming back, has a new attitude. Maybe we're going to get a cool little turn here. And then you get it. Claudio goes for the uppercut, and Danielson sells the uppercut with bewilderment. Not, I just got my head knocked off. It was zoinks. And I was like, all right, I don't know how this is going. And then Moxley goes, I know it'll work. He puts a plastic bag over Bryan's head and tries to asphyxiate and kill him. On a pay-per-view. In front of a worldwide audience. I know it's Chicago, and the rules of murder are a little more lax there than they are in other places. It's kind of ingrained in the history of that city. Security doesn't come running out immediately to stop the murder. The locker room, no one comes out to go try to save Bryan Danielson. Your announcers aren't running to go try to save Bryan. They're just all sitting and watching, and Jim Ross is forced to have to call this attempted murder, and you can tell JR was not enamored and thrilled with this. And there was a shot there where Bryan is screaming for help that is a little off-putting. This would not have been the move that I would have gone with when you're trying to establish yourself as the true number two. Tony Khan said last week, we are going to we are going to make history as the second most successful wrestling promotion of all time. This ain't the spot to do it. This was not something that makes me think, oh, kids are going to be excited to tune into this show. Families are going to tune in. Advertisers are going to be throwing money at you. You could have told this same moment, the same spot with a shocking, pretty much anything else. The wrestling has always said, like, we don't involve guns, and when they have involved guns, it's always been horrifying. When WWE did it with Pillman and Austin, it cost them sponsors. USA Network was like, are you out of your friggin' minds? They didn't air replays of this. This doesn't exist on social media. AEW wasn't putting it up there. So you're going, this is a truly horrifying gaffe. It's a mistake. It doesn't make me think, I can't wait to see what happens next. It makes me think, I can't wait to see the internal meeting that they have to figure out how to fix this. It was so, like, if anything, like, Justin Roberts was right there. Justin Roberts got choked out by Bryan Danielson with his necktie, and they fired him. Justin should have volunteered his necktie. Like, here you go. Finish the job. Like, he could have taken off his belt and choked him with the belt. There were things you could have done, but the plastic bag thing is a uniquely dangerous and uncomfortable moment that eclipsed what was a great match, what was a great layout, and what was a great angle. I went from, I may actually care about seeing what happens with Jon Moxley to, all right, this is going to be a thing we have to sit and talk about, like guys drinking blood or, potential anti-Semitic hate crimes with Juice Robinson and MJF. Like,
Robert, so initially seeing it, when I finally got to watch it and see the clip and everything like that, I was like, okay, it harkens back to Clash of the Champions with Terry Funk and Ric Flair. They kind of got some flack for that, obviously, back in the day, too. I was like, I'm okay with it for the most part. But then I watched a longer clip of it, and Jon Moxley really held that plastic bag on Danielson for a very long time.
Which is fine, and they're sick about it and whatever.
Right. But
at the same time, when Funk and like Flair did like that kind of stuff, that was a totally different era.
Totally different.
And a different audience mindset. It wasn't successful then to a large degree. And it certainly was not something here. Like, I'll be curious when you talk to, Gagne and Magnum, what their takes are on this. Because genuinely, like, if I'm thinking I'm trying to book, you're not booking ECW. And I think that's what Tony needs to understand. Like, you are booking something that is on two of the most powerful cable networks in the world. You have one of the largest media conglomerates on the planet backing you. You don't need this. You also have really creative storytellers in Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley who could have come up with something different than leaning into this impulse. And the worst of all is you're going into a match with Swerve and Hangman that's supposed to be shocking over-the-top violence. You're not topping this.
No.
Well, we thought.
They're
not topping this.
It did top it for me in regards to what is egregious as a visual in pro wrestling. I would have been fine even with a taser spot with Moxley and Danielson over the plastic bag, I think.
I hate taser spots. I think they always look goofy.
They do look goofy. I would have bought that, I think, a little bit more, though.
Yep.
Okay. Unsanctioned lights out. Dim them down. Bring them back up. We got Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland. What was a brutal, very violent, very innovative match in regards to what they did in certain ways. Hangman Page gets the definitive win after he knocks Swerve Strickland out with a steel chair shot that was very massive, but not before he put a hypodermic needle in Swerve's mouth. Did not like that spot at all. I think it really speaks to really reaching to try to be edgy and stuff like that when they already had the elements to be edgy in this match. What do you think of that spot? What do you think of the match? What do you think of the chair shot, Robert?
I thought the match overall was the kind of intensity that the two of them needed. I think
Mm-hmm.
part of the challenge was you're overcoming the intensity of a Chicago street fight and the disquieting image that you just saw of Danielson being choked out by a bag. So they had to lure that audience back in. The cinder block stuff looked brutal.
Yeah.
I think that was, those guys committed. The fact that they were using shards of the burnt down house for that end, brilliant. I never liked like when they use a railroad spike or something. That to me is like, that's not my thing. Again, kind of like light tubes. I don't love it, but I got it. If the Terry Funk Ric Flair plastic bag spot was a throwback to the 80s, watching a wrestler inject another wrestler with a needle was a throwback to the 80s.
Absolutely.
Didn't love it. Didn't like the picture that Mike Lawrence, working stiff co-host and talented comedian, sent was the picture of Danielson with the plastic bag over his head and Swerve with the needle sticking out of his mouth, which is the worst thing possible because All Out from top to bottom, great card, great matches, solid wrestling, good storytelling, good booking for the most part, eclipsed by two really goofy moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the worst part of this is I wanted to be able to come out of this pay-per-view and say, this was wonderful, made total sense, great matches, great story, great show. And instead we're talking about a dude getting choked out with a plastic bag and a guy being injected with a hypodermic needle. The chair shot bugs me in the sense that universally they're like, we're not doing chair shots to the head anymore. Because if you take chair shots to the head, your brain is scrambled, and you wind up hosting a weekly podcast with Dominic D'Angelo every Monday at 4:20 p.m.
Oh,
So, yeah, a little Rob Van Dam plug for you there. And we've just wiped it out. When you save it and use it as it only exists in these rare, limited instances, it's still a thing in play. Just we all accept chair shots to the head, bad. We don't need to see them. They don't entertain us. They don't make a match more worthwhile. I get that they supposedly gimmicked it to make it safe. I understand that, but I wouldn't introduce it. I know Ricky Morton was very upset about it. He posed like there's a reason why like my brain is all scrambled. I have to take medication because of this. It doesn't derive the kind of positive responses that you want. And you want people coming away from your show thinking, I'm really glad I spent the money on watching this. I'm really glad I watched this pay-per-view, took this journey to support this company, and not, I wish we didn't have this moment and this moment and this moment, and it kind of mars things for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who are going to love it. The AEW sickos, so that's great. That's less than 600,000 people now that are tuning in for Dynamite. I'm not saying you have to be doing the same numbers as WWE, but you do want to be courting that larger audience. But at the same time, Tony Khan is the one that holds the purse strings. He chooses to spend the money how he wants. And if this is the kind of product he wants to put out there, so be it.
Right. I think I love this feud. I love what they've done with a lot of this aspect of Hangman and Swerve. And even after the match, Hangman showed conflict. You don't know where his head's at. Did he finally lose his mind? Is he a pure-blooded heel? Does he regret what he's doing? Is it a little bit of both? Really cool stuff. Big things that really harbor, I think, this whole feud in general is something like the needle spot or something like drinking your own blood. And certain things like it's just that stuff takes away from the feud itself, I think.
It becomes you're more focused on the stunt than
Yes.
you are the match.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that they don't need to do because they arguably have the best roster potentially in the history of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to work around this. If anything, I know the crowd was chanting for it, and I hate giving crowds what they're cheering for because the hell with crowds. But like they wanted fire, and considering this ended with the house being burned down and there was no fire anywhere else in the show, I thought maybe we were going to get a fire spot.
Like the cage on fire.
Well, there's that. Raw is tonight. It's the season premiere of Raw. We don't have a lot of time to really get into it. The only big takeaway is Bret the Hitman Hart is going to be on there. So, kids, get your Goldberg chance early and often if you are in the building. Dom, we lightly plugged some of your other shows. I didn't tune in to see if you plugged Rumor and Innuendo on the Rob Van Dam podcast, so I'm not going to let you plug it now. So instead, the only thing we're going to plug is we've got Working Stiff with myself and Scott Chaplin, which is out. The main show dropped last Thursday. It's worth going in. Our predictions for All Out were spot on. It's a real fun show to listen to. And if you're a Patreon subscriber for Working Stiff, you got a chance to hear Scott and mine's pretty in-depth All Out review. A little bit of arguing, a little bit of samesies, but always fun. And Dom, we will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, the SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows Working Stiff and Rumor and Innuendo. I think we got everything there. So on behalf of Aaron Rodgers' worst nightmare, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Relax.